So other than the mistake of not going out and getting help, what are some of the common mistakes that you see buyers make?
You know, they go through the whole gamut of what's going on. I think the issue of vendor concentration is quite often overlooked. I think the point of customer concentration is often overlooked. You know, we have seen many instances in which, if you look at a list of customers, and the top, say, 3 to 5 customers represent 30–40% of the business, maybe the top 1 or 2 customers are 20 or 25, it's easy to, I won't get caught up in, but ascribe more value to the length of that relationship between the firm and that customer than may really be there. So yes, maybe you have done business with that customer for 20 years, but in the changing environment that you and I are talking about here, and in many companies, IT is becoming more important. The things that got you that customer years ago, and even some that have allowed you to retain that customer over the last few years, may be a different set of criteria and attributes that are going to be needed to keep that customer going forward. So we've seen sometimes where vendors pull out post-transaction, customers, not because of the transaction, but a year or 2 later just naturally have decided maybe this business doesn't give them what they need in terms of being able to serve them and go out. So it's those types of those types of areas that we think are very important to look at. And the biggest thing, Angela, I think through it all, for the folks that are putting their own money up and looking to make an acquisition, to your viewership out there, is as you're going through this process, there are always going to be a set of key must-haves. So going into due diligence, I would encourage any acquirer to say, what are the 2 to 5 things that we have to make absolutely certain are valid? If we're buying a company because of its e-commerce capabilities, make certain we're bringing in experts and we convince ourselves that that is truly the e-commerce solution that we want to be putting our name behind and having to move forward. And do that with every one of these 2 to 5 or whatever the number is, key areas that absolutely have to come out clean during due diligence. And when you're during due diligence, it's easy to fall in love with the company when you're doing this, because you have your team involved. They are interfacing in latter stages with the team of the company being acquired. You're pulling together these joint teams to talk about how you'll handle customers and handle vendors and handle operations going in. But if at some time you're finding that there is something you didn't expect going in and it's major and it causes you to step back and say, I really need to reconsider this acquisition, key thing is don't be afraid to step away from a table and always remember what you're risking. Because quite often the best deal is the deal that doesn't get done and the deal that you don't do.
Do you have any other advice or best practices that you can offer?
Well, we talked about a lot of things, Angela. I think one of the things that I would, again, continue to encourage folks is when you're going through the process, it's easy to fall in love and don't get enamored. So again, find out what those kind of key go or no-go criteria are, whether it's on the buy side or the sell side. Make sure you've got a very strong team to diligence in those areas. Work really hard. If you have to extend the time period during which you're doing due diligence, that's okay. But always remember what's at risk. Because it's not just the investment you're looking to make in that company, but if it's done wrong, it can have a significant impact on the firm that you're having. It can impact the culture. It always does somewhat the culture of your business, and you're the acquirer. It impacts the financials of your business. It can impact how your customers view you, how your vendors view you. So if it's not done right, or you're buying something you didn't really understand or recognize you're buying on the downside, so to speak, it can impact everything you or your family or your ownership has taken decades to build. So be diligent, go through a process, work with folks that have done it before, make sure you know what the key handful of go, no-goes are, do a deep dive there, and if it's just not what you thought it was, it's easy to fall in love, but don't be afraid to step away.
You can learn more about the buying and selling process by emailing Jay at jgrayson@supplychainequity.com. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Angela. I appreciate it.